Senator, the issue of FRMS, or the issue of fatigue at the time, was in its infancy, shall we say. Even today, the FRMS rules and where they lie and how we're going forward is a matter which we can discuss in some length. We're in a regulatory development process at the moment for fatigue risk management. Putting one score forward from a FADE system, which I believe Pelair were using and is used by many others around the world, gives an answer. Using some other esoteric system or some other mathematically based system may give you another answer. Mathematically based systems are not necessarily, by any means, proven to be accurate in any way, shape or form. I think the important thing is in the Pelair Aviation Safety Audit Report from CASA at page 21, where we interviewed Pelair pilots, and in this, it's under the policy and application of fatigue practices. It says all crew interviewed stated that they felt there would be no issues in stating that they were fatigued and pulling out of duty, but also felt that they had limited opportunities to fly and had to take these opportunities when they arose. I fully agree that the company could have done more, this Pelair, to assist in this flight. We've said that from the start. The issue is that in the end, fatigue, and I think this is in our supplemental submission as well, comes down to two parts. The operator rostering people appropriately so they're not unnecessarily fatigued to the best of their knowledge, and the last line of defence is the crew not operating. Pelair crew have indicated to us that they felt no restrictions about operating. In this particular case of Mr James, the amount of rest he achieved, I think there are three different answers. 4 hours, 8 hours and a couple of hours to the Four Corners interview. I don't know to this day how much rest or fatigue was induced into Mr James by that operation. Only he will know. And so far, with three different answers, the only question we have to ask is which one is correct or which two are the lies.
With all due respect, Mr McCormack, that complete answer had no relevance to the point that I raised. Everything you said is quite possibly correct, but it has no relevance to the point that your own internal investigation indicated that CASA's oversight of the fatigue risk management system at Pelair was inadequate, and other parts of the document go to their training and implementation and the lack of effectiveness. That is surely a crucial part of the safety information that the ATSB should have considered into why the error was made. Now, that information was held by CASA and in fact withheld by CASA despite the requirement of the MOU to release any relevant parallel investigation that went to a matter that was being investigated by ATSB.
With all due respect, Senator, I'll maintain again that the Chamber's report was an internal report. Now, we can sit here and say, I should have released it to the ATSB. I don't think I'm in violation of the MOU at all. We did release our special audit report. We did release our accident investigation report at the appropriate time, and the ATSB asked for them. The ATSB themselves are quite capable of investigating fatigue, and they mentioned fatigue in their report. Now, how far they take fatigue or what weighting they put on fatigue is a matter for them. As far as CASA goes, particularly in auditing FRMS, we were very limited in our resources. As I say, at the time, we were a different organisation. We were a legacy of my predecessor and his predecessors as far as our organisational structure goes. We're a learning organisation. We're much better at what we do. And I certainly don't think that if we were to rerun this again without the accident, but to rerun it again as a desktop type exercise, we would find similar findings, but we would also find that we would not have the systemic issues. I again, Senator, I'm sorry, I reject the fact that the Chamber's report is relevant to the ATSB. Now, if the ATSB had have asked after they had completed their report or when we had finished our report, that's a different matter. If it's an error of judgment and not giving it to the ATSB, then I'll accept that. But again, if we have withheld nothing, we have withheld no information. You have all the information we had. We provided the ATSB with everything they wanted at the time they wanted it, and we were scrupulously concerned, scrupulously fair about avoiding contaminating their investigation in any way, shape or form. Now, at the time, as I say, the Chamber's report was started by myself, and I requested that after we had completed our investigations and completed our report. So we're in the point of view of, I'm looking now at a continuous improvement exercise, not an exercise involved in talking to the ATSB. If you say the public have a right to know about internal CASA reviews, well, there are many, many internal CASA review documents. None of them, not all of them, are flattering to CASA. That's why we have to continually improve, and that's what we have been doing in the time since 2009 when I arrived here. Now, that may not be completely satisfactory as an answer, but there's not much further I can take that, Senator. I'm sorry.
Mr McCormick, 2 points. One, the report I was just talking about then was in fact the Special Audit of Pell Air Fatigue Risk Management System of December 2009, a separate CASA report, a year ahead, or almost a year ahead of the Chambers report that you're referring to. And the 2 points, this report and Chambers, that are different to other internal CASA reports, which I accept any good learning organisation will do. Some of them will be embarrassing. There's no requirement in the normal course of events for CASA to release internal reports. But where they are directly relevant to the causation of an accident that's being investigated by ATSB, there is clearly an expectation of the public and indeed by your own organisations and the government, because it is articulated in the MOU that wherever CASA conducts a parallel investigation into a transport safety matter the ATSB is also investigating, CASA will provide the ATSB with a copy of the CASA investigation as soon as it is practicable to do so. So given that this was tabled in December 2009, is there any reason why this was not provided to the ATSB in accordance with the MOU?
2 points on that, Senator, if I could. If you look at the Chambers report, and I will go away and confirm this, but to my knowledge, the Chambers report and the points raised there and are points that are also covered in our Special Audit report and our accident report. In other words, they are not raising new information, they are raising information about how internal processes in CASA were carried out. So, as I said, I'll check that on notice if I can, but I think you will find that there is nothing raised in the Chambers report that's not reflected in our accident report. So if you ask, have we given the information, as I said, we gave the information that we're required to give, that the ATSB asked. We assisted where we could within the confines of the MOU and confidentiality and our differing aims and opinions. And then when it came to the Chambers report, it is showing to me what's behind those points. But I think you'll find all those points are raised. To turn to that report that you have in your hand, Senator, in actual fact, the contents of that report, the major elements out of it, to my knowledge, are incorporated into our accident report as well. I have not seen that report before today, I might add, and you'll notice from the front cover I've not actually in Address C. That's not for me to sidestep it, but you'll find it has not actually been signed by anybody. Now, there were 2 human factors specialists which were involved in that investigation, and their comments were incorporated into the report, to my knowledge. I might ask Mr Hood if he can explain a little bit further on that as a background.
The findings in relation to Pell Air in the Special Audit report of the fatigue are lifted and directly placed into the Special Audit report that was made available to the operator.
I accept the fact that the detail, if you like, of some of the issues that were found with the operator ended up into the reports. The issue here is that if we look at the 3 defences to safety, as you correctly point out in most of your evidence and the written and oral evidence, the pilot is the last line of defence and is a key part. The operator is another one, and as you correctly point out, many of those things made their way into the report. But the oversight by the regulator is a 3rd tier, and that is what is missing from the ATSB report. And it is clear that CASA had in its possession, through these reports, and this is where the Chambers report differs to the Special Audit, in that the Chambers report is CASA's own assessment of how it performed its oversight role, which is why, to use your own term, it appears passing strange to the committee that there should be such strong rebuttal against witnesses who say, we don't think the surveillance was adequate. Very strong rebuttal in the public space saying CASA rejects that, when you know that your own internal investigations by senior managers are saying that your oversight was inadequate. Now, we are happy that you're taking steps to correct it, but surely it is in the public interest that rather than us having to drag out through a committee process like this the fact that there were inadequate processes, that the ATSB should have been provided that information so the public have confidence that where you recognise there are problems internal that have contributed to our culture and an environment and practices by pilots that led to an error and to an accident, that the organisational characteristics and culture is such that A, you are learning, yes, and that's good, but you are also transparent and will say, ATSB, yep, we were making mistakes in the past, we're addressing it, but here is a report of our own assessment. For you to say in things like this rebuttal, in quite strong language, and with absolutely no hint of compromise, that you reject any assertion that your oversight may have been inadequate when your own internal reports are damning in that area, is surely not in the public interest, and nor does it inspire confidence in the public.